Isn't it interesting when we got a bunch of African-American DAs, now we need daddy to tell us what to do? They can keep looking. I'm not interested in them looking. They can look. I'm sorry they pissed off. Justice is now actually blind. Lady Justice is blind. Everybody can get it.
A few moments later.
Former President Donald Trump's election interference case in Georgia is hitting a snag. A Georgia appeals court has halted the case while it reviews the lower court's ruling allowing Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to stay on the case. The order issued Wednesday prevents the judge from moving forward with pretrial motions while the appeal is pending.
Willis is accused of having an affair with the prosecutor who was appointed to the case by her, benefiting from his salary and taxpayer dollars. Legal spokeswoman for Trump, Alina Habba, joins me now in studio. Alina, I'm watching this unfold. This broke like right as we were coming on air. This woman is riddled with problems, and I'm not even a legal mind.
No, she's fallen on her fanny since the very beginning. There's the headline for tomorrow,
well
folks.
Done.
But, no, truly, I mean, number one, this has completely been a disaster. It was a fake case to start with. Her arrogance, her demeanor has been incredibly telling. It's very much the typical coordinated, as we know, as you mentioned earlier in your show, with the Biden administration move. They have these state DAs, AGs coordinating to take down Trump. Well, she just took herself down in the most public display of chaos and disgrace, frankly. So I'm not surprised. The case will not go forward before November now. We do have a stay, which is great. Our team did amazing over there.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about Miss Fani Pack Willis. Now, I kind of already told you guys that this would happen a day before this news broke, that the RICO trial against Trump and his fellow defendants was not going to happen before the election because of the Georgia Appeals Court setting a trial date or a hearing date for Fani Willis's disqualification in October, okay? All signs pointed to this idea that, hey, it would take too long to get through that process in order for the trial to proceed forward. Now we have official news that, hey, the trial is definitely not going to happen before the election, and legal experts are furious, right? They're furious with Fani Willis for blowing it, okay? She blew it. I mean, she most definitely blew it. I mean, this is why she's in this situation. She's blowing too many things, right? And I mean, listen, here's the thing. Nobody should be surprised because liberal women tend to blow a lot of things. Like, this is why Kamala Harris is vice president, okay? If she wasn't blowing it all the time, she would not have been VP, okay? I mean, that's basically how she made her career. I mean, look what's happening to the WNBA, okay? All those woke women are blowing their opportunity for fame, money, and relevance, which is something that they've been begging for. Now, all of a sudden, when they get what they asked for, they don't want it anymore because they're not getting it the way that they want it, okay? So, again, leave it to liberal women to blow their opportunities, right? I'm just saying, this is very commonplace. But, again, like I told you guys, the legal community, the liberals are upset. They're upset with Fani Willis because they were relying on her to put the nail in President Trump's coffin when it comes to his chances of being reelected. Because unlike all the other trials that Trump is currently facing, which he may not face any trials going into the election, it looks like that's not going to happen with the January 6th case out in D.C. and the classified documents case, not going to happen. So it seems this case, if it would have happened before the election, it would have been televised, okay? And because it would have been televised, this probably would have been one of the biggest television events in American history. No doubt it would have been, okay? The world would have been watching to see the President of the United States in court defending himself against these RICO charges that were politically motivated and brought against him by this woke DA, Fani Willis, trying to make a career after going after Trump, which is, again, what these Democrats are doing. That's what Alvin Bragg was doing. That is what Letitia James was doing, the Attorney General of New York. This is what they're all doing, okay? They're trying to make a career out of going out of Trump. However, Fani Willis is not going to get the opportunity, mainly because of her own mistakes, okay? The fact that she chose to have a relationship of sexual nature with somebody that she hired to help her go after her political opponent was just a really, really, really stupid thing to do. And she basically ruined the chances of this trial actually happening before the election. So, yeah, people are upset about it. some people in the legal community, they are going after her, right? Like, for example, this quote right here. She has just stabbed the case right in the heart. Clark D. Cunningham, an expert in legal ethics and a law professor at Georgia State University, told the New York Times. You also have this quote right here. The history books will look back on what the country lost by not having a televised trial before November 2024, and historians will wonder what Fani Willis was thinking, and they'll just scratch their heads. Anthony Michael Kress, a constitutional law professor in Georgia, told The Guardian, quote, I don't know how much Judge McAfee could have done between now and the appeals pendency anyways, but the real loss is McAfee's ability to deal with the question of presidential immunity and the supremacy clause over the summer. Yeah, so again, people are upset, they're pissed, okay? So now we need to react to the CNN panel admitting that, hey, not only is this case being delayed to the point where it's not going to happen before trial, this case might not happen at all because there's a real chance that Fani Willis could be disqualified, okay? I mean, this is something that, you know, hey, I think she deserves, right? I mean, she's being humiliated, and at this point, I think she deserves all the backlash that she's getting because, again, she had an incredible lapse of judgment that, you know, hey, I'm not complaining about, right? I'm just saying that benefited Trump. Okay, so I'm not complaining about it, but it's just so funny to me how these people dependent on her to save the republic. Okay, just like, you know, they say, oh, well, black women saved the republic. Okay, well, it seems like in 2024, black women are the reason why Trump might get reelected. Who knows? Okay, I'm just saying. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this.
Fresh off a felony conviction and awaiting sentencing that could include prison time potentially, Donald Trump is scoring some pretty big legal wins tonight in his push to delay any other case from going to trial before Election Day. In Georgia, an appeals court has just halted the conspiracy case against Donald Trump and his co-defendants indefinitely as it considers whether the district attorney, Fani Willis, should be removed from the case, which they are obviously trying to do. All of this stems from that romantic relationship that she had with the lead prosecutor that she put on this case. Nathan Wade is now gone from the case, but this trouble is still here for Fani Willis, at least. The accusation is that she benefited financially from his appointment by spending his salary on things like vacations together, an allegation that I should note Willis, in a very dramatic courtroom moment, flatly denied.
You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy. You lied in this. Let me tell you which one you lied in. Right here. I think you lied right here. No. This is the truth, Judge. And it is a lie. It is a lie.
It is a lie. It is a lie. Again, really? Is this what we're doing, Fulton County? Is this who you really want to represent you, this woman? Right? This is who you voted for in the primary. Again, see, this is what kind of bothers me about this idea that, well, Republicans shouldn't seek revenge. Well, if Republicans don't seek revenge, then Democrats are never going to learn their lesson because the idiots in some of these deep blue counties continue to vote for these clowns and they never get punished. It's one thing if Democrats got punished at the ballot box for their corruption, for weaponizing the system, but if they don't get punished for it, why should Republicans worry about being punished for it, right? Is it only Republicans that can be punished for weaponizing the system, right? Is that how this works? Republicans always have to take the high ground. They always have to take the high road, but Democrats can go as low as they want and, you know, it doesn't affect them, right? Nobody worries about Democrats losing votes when they take the low road, okay? But they tell Republicans, no, don't take the low road because you might lose votes. It's amazing. It's amazing. Republicans really are playing a game in which they are handicapped against the Democrats because, again, Republicans can't use the same tactics as Democrats without taking massive backlash from the mainstream liberal media. It really is a fascinating observation.
That is one saga. In the meantime, as we are waiting on the Supreme Court to rule on presidential immunity, which they are expected to do later this month, the judge in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case has now kicked the can so far down the road, it's hard to even see it at this point. There's just about zero chance that this trial sees the light of day before the election. Judge Eileen Cannon has also now agreed to hold a hearing on Trump's push to get Jack Smith removed from the case. Of course, Trump and his team are claiming that Smith was illegally appointed as the special counsel who's overseeing that in the case in Washington, D.C. But not only is this a further delay in Florida as Trump motions are stacking up like planes on a runway. Motions that I should note Cannon has yet to rule on. The most immediate issue now becomes, is Judge Cannon considering giving Jack Smith the boot? Well, what we have learned is that she at least wants to hear the two sides out.
As she should. As she should. And people think that this is controversial. No, it's not controversial. And it what's so funny to me is watching these liberals in the mainstream liberal media do the mental gymnastics of saying that, hey, the political system can't be weaponized, right? The judges aren't biased, right? What are you talking about, okay? In response to Trump being convicted in New York after the hush money trial, right? But when it comes to what's going on in Florida in the classified documents case and Judge Aileen Cannon, all of a sudden the system's weaponized. It's rigged, according to the mainstream liberal media. But no, it's impossible for it to be rigged in New York, even though that judge sent political donations, cash, money, has financial interest in the Democrat Party through his daughter and through his own political donations, and sent money to anti-Trump initiatives. Now, again, if this was reversed, okay, if you had a Republican judge that had the former Democrat president on trial, and the Republican judge had donated to anti-Democrat initiatives and to his political opponent, what do you think Democrats would be saying? They'd be screaming how this is unfair. You can't have a judge that is this overtly political bias. Again, the hypocrisy of Democrats is stunning. They have just been thoroughly exposed throughout all of this stuff, right? Whereas if we get our way, then, hey, it's fair, right? And you can't question it. If you question it, you're a dangerous person. But when we don't get our way, it's rigged, okay? This is what they do. This is the game plan. They do this every single time. When it comes to denying elections, they deny elections for 20 years straight. All of a sudden, one Republican says, hey, I don't think the outcome is fair. Oh, well, you're an insurrectionist, right? You're a threat to democracy. When Democrats have been doing this for years. Again, it's fascinating, it really is. But it must be noted, because I made this point and I will continue to make this point because, again, Democrats say, hey, everything in New York was fair. But in New York, they did not allow Trump to push the motions in the appeals that he's doing right now in Florida, in Georgia, what's happening with the January 6th case. All of those motions and appeals at least are somewhat successful in the sense that at the very least it delays the trial. It makes sure that, hey, Trump can have a fair trial before actually, going to court and doing the trial, right? He's getting all these opportunities in every other case except New York. Well, why is that? It's because New York, what the goal was to just get him convicted, okay? They weren't going to allow him to have a fair trial. They weren't going to consider any of his motions, okay? They weren't going to do that. They were going to deny everything, including the attempt to get a clearly politically motivated judge removed. Or move the venue to a place that's more fair, where you can get a more fair jury. No, we can't do that, right? We have to go ahead and get this guy convicted ASAP, make sure everything is against him in every way possible, and that's what they did. And this is why they continue to say the quiet part out loud is that, well, this could not have happened anywhere outside of New York. Well, why is that? Why is that? At the same time, they're telling you, hey, you can't question it. You can't question it, right? If you question it, you're a dangerous person.
My top legal sources are here tonight. Joining me at the table, CNN senior legal analyst and former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, Ellie Honig, criminal defense attorney and CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson, and retired federal judge Shira Schindlin. It's great to have you all here. Judge, I want to get your take on this in a moment. But Ellie, I mean, if we thought the Georgia case was doomed from the start, this is essentially cementing that.
It's over. Let's be realistic. It's not happening before the 2024 election. It's not happening in 2024. It's maybe not happening at all. Now, look, the appeals court, we can never predict what they're going to do, but there's some things we know for sure. Number one, they didn't have to take this case, the appeal, and they chose to. The other thing is they didn't have to pause the district court. In fact, the trial court judge, when he issued his ruling allowing Donald Trump and the others to ask the appeals court to take the case, the trial court judge specified, while you all are doing that, I'm going to continue holding proceedings in this trial court. And now today, just a couple hours ago, the appeals court said, no, pause that too. So that tells me that they are taking this appeal very seriously. And if Trump and the defendants prevail on this appeal, this case is essentially toast.
As they should, right? As they should. Okay, they should take it seriously. All of Trump's motions and appeals should be taken seriously because we're dealing with the former president of the United States. And that's what frustrates me so much about these people complaining about Aileen Cannon. It's like they want her to do sloppy work when you're talking about an unprecedented case. You're talking about prosecuting the former president. You can't do sloppy work on that. You have to take your time on it. You have to hear out the defense and their motions and to give them every opportunity to defend themselves and to make sure they have a fair trial. That, to me, would be the democratic thing to do. But again, because these people don't actually really believe in democracy, they just want them thrown in jail. They just want to convict and throw in jail. They don't care how they get it done, as long as it gets done. But this guy, Eli Honig, who, by the way, also basically said that what happened in New York was unprecedented and kind of a sham. The legal analyst on MSNBC got mad at him about that, right? Actually telling the truth. This guy has said, yeah, this case in Georgia might not happen at all because the appeals court could decide that, hey, Fani Willis needs to be removed. And I hope they do decide it. I hope they do decide it.
You're talking about Judge McAfee. He was still ruling on some pretrial motions, going ahead with things. All of that is now frozen. And I mean, we're not even going to get a decision on the appeals court until next spring.
Yeah, we won't. But I think it's the right call. And let me tell you why. I'm a firm believer that you have to have confidence in our institutions, and appeals are part of that process. I think there are many people who took issue with McAfee's decision, however well-reasoned the 23 pages were or not. I think there are people who felt that there was an actual conflict of interest, not just a perceived conflict, and maybe took issue with his remedy as well. What remedy? Get the special counsel off the case and you're fine. Proceed. Nathan Wade, I'm speaking of. And
which to me doesn't make any sense, okay? Because you're basically saying that, well, I don't believe Nathan Wade. Nathan Wade's a liar, okay? There's so much of a conflict that Nathan Wade needs to be removed, but you're not removing Fani Willis, right? That to me doesn't make sense. You got to remove both. If you remove one, you got to remove both. Both of them are rotten apples, right? So again, that's my problem with Judge McAfee. He was trying to save his political career. He tried to split the baby, okay? But he damaged her enough in his ruling that he left the door open for this. Like, he knew exactly what he was doing. He was like, I don't have the cojones, the stones, to actually do the right thing. So I'm going to split the baby and I'm going to let the appeals court decide. And at the very least, the trial will be delayed till after the election. He 100% knew it. Okay? He's the one that allowed it to go to the appeals court. Because he said, hey, there's an odor of mendacity here. AKA Fani Pack is a liar. All these people are liars. They lied under oath. Right? This is essentially what he was alluding to.
And so to the extent that there's an appeal, why not freeze the case? Because if you move forward and the appeal is otherwise granted and the case is undone, what are we doing? And so my view, because of the institutions and the respect for them, and people have to have trust in them, let an appellate panel of 3 judges make the decision, and what they decide, we'll have to live with.
And what they're deciding, Judge, is whether or not Judge McAfee here made the right decision on not disqualifying Fani Willis, the district attorney. He said Nathan Wade could not be on the team anymore, but he did not disqualify her. Do you think he made the right choice?
I think he probably made the right choice. The real question is, are we surprised by the stay? And I think we're not. I think I agree with what you said, Joey, that this required a stay. And the truth is, I don't think this case was going before the election anyway. It was never ready to go. There were still discovery issues, still pre-motion issues. It's a sprawling case with many defendants. I don't think it causes any difference, frankly, in timing. It wasn't going to go before the election, in my opinion.
What does it mean for the people who've already pleaded guilty? I mean, there are a number of them in this case. Jenna Ellis, everyone remembers her tearful moment on camera inside that courtroom in Atlanta, Georgia. What happens to them?
Powell and Chesbrough, boy, if this thing gets dismissed and then they're standing there with their guilty pleas, they're going to try to take them back for sure, right? They're going to make a motion right away saying, we want to withdraw our guilty pleas, and then that'll be up to the judge. I do want to flag another issue, though, that's going to be in front of the Court of Appeals. There's the disqualification, the affair, the intermingling of finances. I agree with Judge Shindlin. I'm not so moved by that. I don't think the proof was clear enough. There is a separate issue that Trump and the other defendants are going to raise that I think is a bigger deal, which is Fani Willis's inappropriate comments about the case outside of court. Judge McAfee found those comments to be, quote, legally improper, and then he did nothing about it. And so
exactly. The reason why he did nothing about it is because he didn't have the stones to do what he needed to do. But he knew that, hey, this will be an issue if I just, pass it off to the appeals court, right? They'll deal with it. I'm trying to get reelected, okay? That's the decision that he made. But what he's talking about here are Fani Willis's comments claiming racism, that they're going after me because the Republicans are racist, right? The defense is racist, okay? And that could sway the jury because now you have the prosecutor crying racism against the defendants, okay? And in a county like Fulton County that's, again, largely black, Democrat, yeah, that could weigh heavily on a jury when you're talking about deciding whether or not Trump is innocent or guilty, right? So those accusations of racism, playing the race card, could ultimately be the nail in Fani Willis's coffin, which would be ironic as hell, right? That would be the biggest backfire in history, right, of using a race card, okay? Again, the race card is overplayed, and I think in this situation, Fani Willis definitely overplayed it. She spammed it, and it seems as if this could be the reason why she gets removed from the case. It could be one of the reasons.
So the defense is going to argue to the Court of Appeals, if the prosecutor makes, quote, legally improper statements that impair the constitutional rights of the defendant, there needs to be a remedy for that.
But here's my only issue. I think that you can make, well, you shouldn't, of course, as a prosecutor, be making comments extrajudicial outside the court that are inappropriate and that impair anyone's rights. The issue is, what's the remedy? And should the appropriate remedy be the dismissal of the indictment? I think that's a bridge too far. So you could say perhaps at the church, you remember she gave the speech and, somewhat inflammatory. Some would argue with respect to the comments about, that she made at that time. But I just think not dismissing the indictment was the right call.
Yeah, that's a good.
Well, I mean, listen, there's a difference between dismissing the whole thing and making Fani Willis remove herself. If she removes herself, or if she has to be removed, if the case falls apart because of that for whatever reason, then hey, it is what it is. So be it. But Fani had the opportunity to be a quote unquote hero and a sacrificial lamb by removing herself a long time ago. She could have removed herself a long time ago and let her office handle the case, and the case would have moved forward. Fani Willis is in this position because of her own selfishness, right? Because she's in it for her own personal gain. She was like, no, I have to be the main prosecutor. I have to lead this. If I'm not the face of this, if I'm not in the courtroom, okay, if I'm not on camera, then I'm just going to sabotage the whole thing. Again, this is why a lot of people in the legal community are pushing back against her, because she could have removed herself and she could have saved the case, right? She could have had the trial go forward, but because she refused to remove herself, because she refused to admit that she made a bad decision, now, again, she's basically sabotaging the whole thing by choosing to stay on, right? Again, it's just really funny how this is all working out.
The remedy that they're talking about is taking her out of the case.
Right, and that's
Should
a
she
good
be
question,
removed?
then if the case would even move forward. But Judge,
Right,
I have to
exactly.
get your take on what's happening in Florida.
All right, so I've talked about what's happening in Florida. They're upset about that. A lot of people are upset about that. But it's just so hilarious to me that, again, every case trial outside of the New York one, Trump's motions, appeals, or whatever, they're finding much more success, which tells you everything you need to know about what happened in New York. But again, what is happening here in Atlanta with Fani Willis? I mean, this is her fault, right? This is hilarious because of just the irony of the situation, right? She's the one now that's facing more scrutiny than the president's going to face going into the election. And to me, I think it's glorious. I think it's karma, okay? I think that this woman going into the church and saying the things that she said, right, in the church, hey, maybe we have some divine intervention going on, because when you make a mockery out of faith, right, which is what Fani Willis did in that situation, hey, I mean, it seems as if what comes around goes around, right? And she's facing the consequences of the things that she said. And ultimately, the things that she said in that church could be one of the reasons why she gets removed. I just think the totality of everything, she just has to be removed. Nobody can trust the outcome of that trial if she's still on the case. It's just not going to instill faith and confidence in the public and in the judicial system as long as she's still on the case. And I hope that that's ultimately how the appeals court rules in this disqualification hearing, that, hey, you got to go, right? There's just too much of an odor of mendacity here. You're just too much of an obvious liar for you to remain on this case and for the case to have any integrity. Not that it had any integrity in the first place, because the charges should not have been bought. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.